A photographer's absolute worst nightmare, going viral for the wrong reason. Today, we're talking about Sepia Gate, and if you haven't heard about Sepia Gate, it's taken the wedding industry by storm. I actually first heard about this a couple weekends ago when I was shooting a wedding myself, and my second photographer was like, "Hey, have you heard of Sepia Gate?" And I was like, "No." So I ran home and I looked it up and my jaw hit the floor. I want to start by saying that I don't necessarily want to take either side. Like, I don't want to take sides in this situation because I feel like both parties are kind of responsible for how it's escalated. Both of them are kind of in the wrong in some instances, but they also have like valid reasons for defending their own point of view. We're going to break it all down. But I feel like all in all, we have a lot to learn from the Sepia bride story. There's lessons here, lessons in creative expression and defending your work as a photographer, but there's also a lesson in customer service and making sure that your clients are happy at the end of the day. So we're just going to dive right in, and I'm going to be reacting as a wedding photographer to Sepia bride. It's actually titled Wedding Photographer Horror Story Part 1. You know it's bad when there's multiple parts.
Imagine paying almost $8,000 for a wedding photographer, and when you raised your concerns, they threatened to sue you for slander if you spoke your truth. So let's get into a little story time. So I found my wedding photographer on Instagram, like a majority of people in this day and age do. Her feed looked so bright, airy, but also had this goldenness to it, and I loved that. But the goldenness that it had still captured the beauty of like colors, blue, your skin tone, etc. You can see this is one of the photos from our welcome dinner party the night before our wedding, and it's a gorgeous photo, right? So this is when shit gets a little crazier. Our wedding day was overcast. Nothing you can really do about that. However, a photographer should know how to shoot in an overcast situation. So she delivered.
I'm going to pause that there. Yes, overcast does change things. And I feel like this is an omen to what we're about to experience, because while we all have different editing styles and they do require some tweaking, especially on overcast days. I'm not really sure what she was referring to and that you should know how to shoot in overcast days. I mean, I think it's just a matter of post-processing.
The photos, and of course right away I'm like, oh my god, I love them. I love every single one of them. I'm like beaming of excitement. And then for about 30 days, I'm staring at the photos and I'm like, why is there something bothering me? Like, well, I couldn't put my finger on it. Until I realized I'm a makeup artist, okay? I was a makeup artist in the wedding industry for years. And I did my own makeup for my wedding. And I'm staring at the solo pictures of me and I'm like, I kind of look really pale and my makeup isn't showing at all. Like, my hair has these red highlights in it and I look extremely dull. So I raised my concerns to her and she goes, okay, I charge X, Y, and Z extra to edit photos. I'll edit them to like enhance your makeup and whatever. Great. So what I'm about to show you, the top photo she edited to enhance my makeup. The bottom photo was me in real life. That was my makeup shot on just an iPhone picture. What did she put on my lipstick? What blush am I wearing? Like, what is on my eyes, my skin, everything?
Now, I listened to the photographer's interview on a podcast that addressed this, her re-editing to enhance the makeup. I don't really know what she means by enhance the makeup, but in the interview, she said that she just went into the saturation slider and she bumped it up, which I feel like kind of made the situation worse, you know? I mean, looking at this photo, it's clearly very warm, it's very golden, it's not true to color, which is actually consistent with the photographer's style, but I think it was just clearly a communication issue between the bride and the photographer, and it's kind of a white balance issue. Like, girl, like -5 magenta, bump down that temperature a little bit, and I feel like that would have solved this whole issue and Sepia Gate wouldn't even exist.
So then I raised the concerns to her and she so kindly said, you know what, I don't think we're gonna come to an agreement, so let me send you some of the raws of that moment. So when she...
You guys, it should never get to this. It should never get to the raw level.
Sent me the raws, I noticed something. This is the photo that she sent me that I look like I have a black eye in. And this was the raw that I edited to have a brighter, more natural feel. And also I went into my eyes to make them brighter. Then I noticed this photo. This is what she sent me and this is how I edited it. Like, you could see the difference, right? Like the coloring, everything. To me, this is a better edit. So that brought me to look in even further to every single photo and dissect everything. I then came to the conclusion that I need to reach out to her and tell her that some of the edits felt like they were a preset that was copy pasted and I wasn't happy whatsoever. Especially when I looked through further and noticed that the filter that she put made my teeth look yellow. Like, what is that? My teeth are white. What is that? One last photo example. This is the ocean. It looks like we got married in Seattle. What is that?
Now, before I rip on this photographer too much, because I really don't want to take sides, I'm a photographer myself, so I understand the value of having your own style and sticking to it, but I also understand where the bride is coming from. And I feel like her requests are not out of like left field. She's actually being pretty nice about her requests. You know, the photographer style is warm and glowy. It is. And I would argue those rehearsal dinner photos, like that photo of her in the car in that blue like Jeep, gorgeous, stunning, but it's a little bit more muted, right? Like her wedding photos are obviously much more yellow, much more warm than her rehearsal dinner photos. And I feel like this all comes back to the overcast day. But as photographers, like we should be able to shoot regardless of what the light is doing on a wedding day, whether it's hard lighting conditions or not. You should be able to adjust for that in post-processing to just make sure that your editing is consistent. And I would argue the wedding photos just need to be like dialed back maybe 20% on the yellow. And I feel like this is all just a simple color grading issue that could be solved, and this whole thing just like wouldn't even be a thing. I mean, I've been here. I've had clients come back to me and express that they've been just a little bit unhappy with the edits. I've had maybe like 1 or 2 difficult clients throughout my whole 6 years of photographing weddings, and one in particular had a problem with her hair. And it's like, is the photographer in this situation even listening to the bride? The bride is clearly saying, my teeth are yellow, the dress is yellow, my hair looks red, and it does. And I've had that same thing happen to me where I had a bride who had a little bit more auburn, like brown hair, but after I edited the photos, it looked more red. And guess what I did? Guess what I did? I went back in those photos and I took out the red in her hair. It's like a simple mask, like just put a mask over her hair or take a mask on her dress or just take down the temperature a little bit. These aren't crazy requests, and it doesn't take that much longer to re-edit these photos, especially if it's just like a handful that she's asking for. There's 100% a difference between intentional color grading for style and changing colors completely, you know? I mean, notice the greens in those photos. Nobody wants to relive their wedding day completely different from how it actually looked. Like most brides want their teeth to be white. They want their dress to look white. And that might mean tweaking your color mixes for the florals or masking certain areas of a photo to bring back details or take out the warmth in some areas. Editing consistency takes a lot of thought, but it is so much more worth it for you and your client. And I don't think that this client is being ridiculous at all. I think she's actually just being super kind about it. Okay, part 2.
Imagine delivering photos to us of the night before our welcome party. Like this.
Beautiful.
Okay.
I love that photo.
Like this.
Same. Love it.
But then get delivered photos of your wedding day and you look like this. Like, can someone explain to me what this is?
She looks like a Oompa
And
Loompa.
like, love this photo. But why are we like full sepia toned? Why do I kind of look like I have like a little bit of a bruise on my face when it's supposed to be like contour and blush? And then why is the sky gray? I mean, it was overcast a little bit, but at the same time,
It happens.
it wasn't that gray.
Especially
and
overcast
the,
days.
the ocean is gray. And then I also sent her this image where, if you could tell, my dad's eyes are like this and Mike's eyes is like this. Every image that is shot in this moment, everyone's eyes are squinty like this. Like, if it's too sunny, change our location. And let me give you another example. This was someone took this picture on their iPhone, but look how gorgeous the color of my mom's dress is, okay? It's this beautiful pink, stunning. And this is the color that she turned it into. It's gorgeous, it's fine, but she wasn't wearing coral. You know what I mean? Like, why change this, why put your edits to change the entire, like, coloring of things? I don't understand. I don't know if you're curious. There's an ocean there. That is an ocean. But no, it looks gray. When in reality, this was the coloring. Okay? This was the coloring of the ocean, of the sky, shot on iPhone. Like,
Too yellow.
you see the sepia, right? It's full sepia tone. This was reality.
Yeah.
This was reality. Okay, part 2 to the story is still coming, but I just needed to get that off my chest.
It was overcast on her day. I get it. But as a photographer, you should be able to pull back those highlights. And for me personally, like I always photograph a little bit underexposed because I want to be able to account for the details. I don't want to lose any details. So it may be how the photographer, I don't know. It may be how the photographer shot that photo. Maybe she overexposed it a little bit, or maybe she used a very low aperture so you don't even see the ocean. That could be it. She's losing those details, but so there's really nothing you can do for that. So that's a shame. But, the whole preset issue, I want to defend the photographers for a second because she's saying that it just looks like there's a preset like slapped over all these photos, and it kind of does look like that. But I will say most photographers use presets that we've either purchased or we've created ourselves, like after years and years of like evolving our own style and working in Lightroom and knowing what we like we create our own presets. I've created a preset for myself and we use those in our post-processing to save time. So yes, most photographers use presets because we're batch processing like thousands and thousands of images, but that's not to say that you shouldn't go through each individual photo and make adjustments. Like don't just slap on a preset and not adjust every single picture. Okay, part 3, wedding photographer gone wrong. That's what it's titled.
Part 2 on my wedding photographer threatening to sue me for slander. Let's go. So I decided to call my photographer after I wasn't happy with all of the edits that were sent to me, especially because
Pause. If there's ever an issue, I keep hearing like there's Instagram messages, there's text messages going back and forth. If your client ever has a problem, you need to hop on the phone on a phone call immediately because things can just get misconstrued over text messages. Like emotions can go awry. You can just read into things, and it's so much easier to listen to somebody's concerns verbally. Phone calls all the way.
Because it looked lazy and it was just a copy paste preset on every single one of them. I'm going to show you a little video on just the moment versus the photo, just so you see it further.
Man, you look so good.
Where's this
photo shoot?
The photo. We look like we're in the Rainforest Cafe.
Too yellow.
What's
Sorry?
in the moment?
Yeah.
Makeup,
Wow.
skin, everything. I look like a Miss Simpsons character. So I text her, I said, hey, can you call me? She's like, I'm available at this time. We speak on the phone. I'm about crying on the phone at this point, saying, I'm so unhappy. Is there any way that I could look through all of the raw images and just pick out certain moments?
Pause. If a client is straight up crying to me, I'm bending. I'm doing whatever you want to make your wedding photos absolutely stunning and that you love them. If you're crying to me and I can do something about it to fix it, I'm gonna do it.
Moments that I could then edit myself. I will sign any contract that you want, states that I won't share these photos. They're literally just for a photo album for my family and I, and for Michael and I. And I was practically like begging her and crying on the phone, just saying like, this is my wedding day. Like this would mean so much to me just to be able to get all the raws and edit them myself. I'm not happy. I don't want you to lift another finger, nothing. I will do all the work for you. She's like, you decided that you hired me. You knew my editing style and everything before you hired me. Like, too bad, basically. So now I'm crying even further and my husband gets on the phone. He's like, please, my wife is so unhappy right now. Like, this is our wedding day. You're holding the photos hostage from us, basically. Like, what are you gonna do with our wedding photos? We're not asking you to do any more work other than just hand them over and we'll sign whatever you want. We even offered to pay her $1,000. She then says it's gonna be $4,000 for all the raw images. Okay, I understand that raws are never really given out for weddings and wedding photographers. But if I was a wedding photographer and my bride, the one day that she's meant to get married, the one day, and you're not gonna make sure that she's happy, what photos aren't you happy with? Can we select 20 of them? Can we just give you the raws of 20 of them? It'll be $500. What I was willing to work on something like that with her, slams it down, tells me it's $4,000. Too bad, so sorry, you hired me. You knew what you were getting into. Well, no, I did not know that I was gonna be working with someone that wouldn't make sure that the bride was happy at the end of the day, especially when they had to do no other work.
I feel like I'm siding with the bride. Like the more we listen to this and I break this down, I feel like I'm siding with the bride. And I hate that because I'm a photographer and I get it. And I've been here where I've had to make adjustments and bend for clients. But at the end of the day, as wedding photographers, we are in the people business. And I mean, it does sound like she wanted a more like true to color editing style, which is fine. Like the photographer style is what it is. And yes, like she should have known that before booking, which we'll get into later about like client communication and knowing that your clients that are booking you are 100% sold on your editing style. It does kind of sound like the bride wanted a more true to color editing style, which she should have looked more into the photographer's portfolio. I think in a previous video, she states that the photographer sent her like one gallery. That's a big no-no. You should be going through multiple galleries from your photographer before you hire them. Anytime somebody wants to hire me, I send them basically every wedding that I've shot in the past 2 years that's consistent with my style, so they can see different locations, different skin tones on different people, different outfits, like different weather conditions, bright sunny days, hard direct flash, harsh sun, indoors. Like all these things can change how our editing colors look in a final product. So it's really important to do your due diligence before hiring a photographer and making sure you're 100% in love with their editing style. Now on the topic of raw photographs. Photographers don't give out raws. I've never given out raw photographs in my entire career, and there's a reason for that. Raws are expensive not because of what they are, but what they stand for. So, because you already have raws, like you already have them. They're already on your storage devices or whatever. They're expensive really more because of usage, because whenever you give out raws, you're essentially giving away your creative intellectual property. It's your art, and it's really an unfinished product. The importance of raws really comes from the commercial industry, and it's more in terms of usage. So whenever you buy rights to a photograph, especially if it's like a photographer serving a business, so business to business, if that business is paying you to use your photographs for a certain amount of time, it's not indefinite because you own the rights to those photos. Same thing for like resolution sizes. Like you could purchase different resolution sizes. Wedding photos are granted to their clients for personal use, and you know that they're not going to re-edit them or sell them later on or give them to vendors. Like a wedding client could give my gallery that I shot of their wedding to a wedding venue, and that wedding venue could use my photographs on their website without tagging me. I could go to that wedding venue and say, hey, you owe me money because my photography is included on your website for marketing purposes, and I'm not getting attribution for that. But it should never get to this point. The client should never get to the point where they're so unhappy with your final work that they're requesting raw photographs. Wouldn't it be easier to just edit them differently and make sure your client is happy? Okay, fine. Maybe you don't like that your client wants a different edit than what your style is, but who cares? Your client is going to use those for personal use. She's making her album. She's framing photos in her house. She's making holiday cards. And when I think about the weddings that I photographed like 2-3 years ago, it's very rare that I open galleries from that long ago. It's very rare that I even post on Instagram. So I'm not even using them as much as my client would, that they've paid me $8,000 and some change to photograph their wedding. Make the edits for your client. And if you don't like them, you can still use your own sepia tone edits in your own portfolio. Those photos can exist in 2 different ways. Make your client happy and then use the photos that you want in your portfolio. So sticking to a style and saying, oh, this is my style because I like it and I'm sticking to it, that's just not a good enough reason for me. Okay, guys, next video.
I want to answer this question because yes, raws are pricey and I totally understand that 100%. The only time that I asked for the raws was once this situation specifically happened that I'm going to go into, because you're saying it wouldn't be hard for her to go down and like cool down the tones. So all I wanted was to make this look like more like me, you know? It was like, I don't really like the edit on it. I can't really see my makeup that well. And because I was a makeup artist for 10 years, this was important to me to have like a solo bridal portrait with my makeup properly showing. And so this was the photo, and I'm gonna show you what the edit that I paid for. She then sent it back to me with enhanced makeup. You wanna see what the actual picture looked like? Hold on. Okay, so I put them side by side. The picture that I'm going to show you below is just a screenshot from a video that my content creator took, so you could see what the makeup looked like.
Everybody wants trendy edits until they realize that trendy edits overall change the color of the day. It'll change your skin tone. It'll change the color of your makeup, like your lipstick, your eyeshadow, especially these golden warm tones.
It's not even like that good of a picture of me down there because it's a screenshot from a video, but you can very well see my lipstick isn't that color or anything. So when I asked her to re-edit and I paid for it, that is what she brought me back. So So that's when she gave me the raws. I think she gave me maybe like 10 raws of that specific like moment in time. And that's when I edited those on my own, which was so nice that she did that. I'm not discrediting that it wasn't nice that she did that. But then when I asked her for more raws, because I was like, I don't want you to do any more work. Clearly we're not getting to like a happy medium here and you're not able to edit them how I want. So can I have all the raws? I even was gonna offer to pay her a little bit, you know? Like, this is what I looked like on my wedding day. My hair, makeup, I just wanted to look like me. Not like this warm sepia tone version of me. And the only good thing that I'll say that happened was when we went into the lobby and it was after the ceremony and she used direct flash. These are my favorite photos.
So the direct flash is making it more bright and natural because of the flash. The flash is highlighting her dress. It's highlighting her skin tone. In my opinion, it still looks a little bit orange and like yellow to me, but the flash is helping.
Whether or not her Instagram is showing that it's her editing style or not, okay? This photo over here was such, my eyes sunken in and I look like I have a black eye. Please explain to me how a photographer thought that that looks good. Once I got the raw image, I turned it into this. Okay, myself. I even had to go into Photoshop, and I'm not a photographer, and I'm not good at Photoshop either. I learned how to use Photoshop, and I made my eyes, I circled my eyes, and I made my eyes brighter. It's the simple things like that. There's only maybe 10 pictures of solo bride me, and she couldn't make sure that those were, that my eyes didn't look like I got punched in like a black eye. You know what I mean? So there is something to do with editing style and versus the Instagram. However, there's also something about delivering photos to your customer that makes sure that that specific person looks good. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't look like she has a black eye. And look, at the end of the day, I made a mistake. I regret working with her. And I'm warning people to not work with her because of the experience that she gave me afterwards. That's not to discredit the fact that she took beautiful photos, but the post-edit work, not my thing. And it just, she's bad business practice on her end with the way that she treated me afterwards. But that's something I have to live with on my special wedding day, okay? I have to live with that I hired the wrong photographer at the end of the day. Plus, I did give her a whole Pinterest board. If she said, that doesn't look like my editing style, and I gave her the Pinterest board before I signed the contract. If she would have said, that's not really the style that I like, that I edit or whatever, she could have also very well said that. But no, she was money hungry and just wanted the money for the wedding. Whether or not her Instagram is showing that.
A note on the raccoon eyes, the black eyes that she's referring to, that is caused by overcast days. And you can tell in these photos where the sun is. The sun is kind of behind her. So in my opinion, overcast days are great. Like, most photographers love shooting in overcast days because it's easier. You can basically use any location, but you still need to be cognizant of where the sun is. So whenever it's very sunny outside, most of the time I have the sun behind my clients, so they're backlit. But with overcast days, you're basically working with diffuse light. Like, think of the sun as a big softbox, and it's just diffused. It's making that soft lighting. Instead of having your client backlit, you would want to flip your client and turn them towards the sun so you don't get those sunken in, dark, heavy shadows around the eyes. And like she said, I feel like it's a simple editing, like, adjustment later, like just slap a mask on her eyes and increase the shadows or brighten her eyes a little bit. That would have solved this whole problem. And I do agree with her about, there is a point of making your wedding clients happy. Like, yes, as artists, at the end of the day, this is our art, but I cannot stress the importance of being a wedding photographer. This is somebody's wedding day. It's happening once in their lives, most of the time. And they want to be able to look back on these wedding photos and love them and relive them. And it's a very emotional experience. So naturally, our clients are going to get attached emotionally to their photos. And it's just this different level when you're a wedding photographer. You really have to work with your client and make them happy. Like, as photographers, like, weddings, they're not about us, they're about our client. Last video.
I'm going to make one last video on this because I didn't expect this to blow up in the way that it did. Half the comments are this, half the comments are that. And at the end of the day, I do understand both sides. I understand someone's artistic ability, and I also understand being the bride, wanting what you paid for or what you wished for on your wedding day, the one day, your wedding day. You don't redo that, right? And so I was sharing my story more in the reason of being able to share exactly what happened to me and to really be careful on the editing styles that photographers these days have. Everyone has an individualized editing style. However, when I booked my personal photographer, she only sent me one gallery of wedding images, and I was so excited to just book someone that I just did it like that so fast. She also expressed that we would be going off my Pinterest board, and all of her Instagram images were more like beach photos and engagement photos. Nothing really had too much of wedding photos on it. And so that was really my mistake because I didn't look at that closer. But she didn't ruin my wedding, okay? There's half the pictures I love, half the pictures I do not like, and that I feel are ruined. There's no single solo shot of, so many different things. And, the day was overcast, but then there were sunny moments too, and the ocean was blue, and we got married in a beautiful island. And I feel like all of the tones didn't really capture that. And to close this off, I didn't just randomly come on here and share this story. This happened 7 months ago, and I tried to speak to her on the phone. I cried to her. My husband cried to her on my behalf as well. We were really upset, and the way that she handled it back to us was really upsetting as well. Obviously, people don't get everything they wish for and everything they hope for, and that's what I walked away from. I walked away saying, you know what? I'm done with the situation. But recently, someone asked me about wedding photographers and if I had any tips or anything like this. So I want to share my story in hopes that I could maybe help someone, in so many different ways, in ways of choosing your photographer. And I would highly recommend doing something that is timeless and just classic and has true colors and just clean aesthetic. And another thing is that typically you do not get raw photos, and you do not get the ability to basically change anything for that matter. But we do have amazing photos. I have some of them here. These are from the welcome dinner, that welcome party that we had. They are framed in my bedroom, and I love those. And there's a lot of other ones that I love. I do not believe that all my photos are bad. I think she took the moments beautifully. I think she captured moments, stunning moments. It's the post-production that I wasn't happy with. Do you know what I mean? There's so many gorgeous photos. It's just the coloring and the editing on it that just washed everything out in a sense. And that is what I was unhappy with. So that's my story, and that's that. So I'm closing off this chapter of my life, and I just wanted to put that out there, especially because she threatened to sue me for slander. And when I thought about it, I was like, you're allowed to give a review. You're allowed to share your truths. You're allowed to share your experience. And there's no one that could stop you from doing that.
I am floored. Imagine your client being unhappy with your artwork that they paid you $8,000 plus some change to re-edit some photos, and then you turn around and want to sue them for slander. What? Like, what girl? I wish she would have hired me to photograph her wedding. But she's right. I feel like we talked about this earlier. Trendy styles, they're good. I like them for certain things, especially when she talks about like the beach photos being on this girl's Instagram page. Those warm, glowy edits are good for certain situations, but they're not good for everything. And that is why I have a true to color, natural style, like bright, true to life colors in my editing, because I feel like that's what clients want on their wedding day. And that is what is going to stand the test of time. That's why they call them timeless, classic edits, because you want to relive your wedding day as it is. You don't want to live your wedding day yellow and orange, and you don't even see the blue in the sky. And so I feel for the bride in this situation, but I also feel for the photographer because this is her editing style and it's clearly shown on her Instagram page. So I feel like it was a miscommunication with the bride in the beginning. She should have sent more than one wedding gallery so the client could look through it and see, hey, I really love this person's style. But it's also a fault on the bride for not doing her due diligence and looking at more portfolio pieces. But most people don't have an eye for white balance. So let me know what you guys think. On one side, you have the photographer saying, this is my style. It's consistent with my portfolio. You knew this before you hired me. And on the other side, you have the bride that's saying, my makeup colors don't look true to life. My teeth look yellow. My dress looks yellow. My eyes look dark. Like, what do you guys think? Who do you guys think is in the right? Who do you guys think is in the wrong? And I want to finish with some tips to avoid this situation if you're a photographer. I think the first thing is just client communication. We need to be communicating before there's ever a deposit on the table. Have you looked through my portfolio? Are you okay with my editing style? Ask questions like, Is there anything about my editing style that you don't like or that you'd like to talk about? You should have clauses in your contract that state portfolio has been reviewed before you book me, and make them sign their little initials beside that clause so they know, hey, I'm responsible for the fact that I'm hiring this artist, and I'm hiring them based on how they're gonna interpret my wedding day. And at the end of the day, they have final artistic say in how my images are edited. But I also think it's important to include a retouching and a re-editing clause. And this is what I say. Re-edits are going to be charged an hourly rate, but I will make adjustments within reason. And it's really important to put that within reason, because that leaves room for you and your client to have a conversation if there's ever a problem. And if there is a problem, get on the phone first. Like, we should not be having messages, text messages back and forth, messages on DMs. You always need to be on the phone to communicate with your client if there's a problem, and just listen. Ask what's wrong, and don't get defensive right off the get-go. Don't just be like, this is my style, this is what I do. Come on, guys. Like, be empathetic. Have a heart for your clients and their freaking wedding day. This is them starting a family together. On another note, before you ever do any re-edits, you need to have approval before doing any additional work. What I would do in this situation, I would make an edit to one photo, and I would send her the original photo that I edited, and then I would send her the photo of me doing the additional work, so the changes that she wanted me to make, and I would get final approval before making any additional re-edits. And if you do give out RAWs to your clients, for heaven's sake, please do not give out RAWs. It should never get to that level. Your clients are paying you for a service, and that includes culling the RAWs, editing the RAWs, and even opening them. Most clients don't even know that RAWs are large files, and they don't even have the proper software to even open them in the first place. But if you send out RAWs, make them sign an NDA, or you could be the next Sepia gate. And at the end of the day, I think we need to remember the importance of being a wedding photographer. Being somebody's wedding photographer holds so much weight. You're photographing moments that are once in a lifetime, that these clients are going to look back on from years to come, that their kids are going to look at, and the kids of their kids, and for generations to come. You're quite literally documenting fleeting moments of family members, of grandma, grandpa, who may not have a lot of time on this earth. It's two families coming together in union for love. It's an emotional thing, and it's an emotional purchase. And it's a lot different than product photography, branding photography. Weddings are their own animal. And I think in wedding photography, client satisfaction always comes first. Photography is a service, but it's a people service, and it's an emotional service. And I think as photographers, we need to remember to take our ego out of it and to put our clients first. That's just my 2 cents. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next week.